All right, and we're back. Thank you, Michael, for sitting with me today. Um,
Problem.
yeah, I haven't done too many of these just yet, but I'm excited to get into this. Yeah, I'm just doing this thing where I ask people a bunch of questions about their background and just
Mhm.
hear all these organic stories and learn about topics, cultures, hobbies, jobs that I've never heard of before. So thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
no problem. Glad to be here.
so let's dive into things. Uh,
Yeah, man.
could you say a few words about yourself? Maybe introduce?
Sure. So my name is Michael. I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm in the social work program. I'm a musician. I'm a poet. I'm a cancer survivor. I sort of had a lot happen in my life, so I'm like glad to be on air and sharing it with someone. It's very interesting for me to make this sort of an interactive process.
Man, yeah, there's so much to go on there. I mean, you said
Yeah.
yeah, there's social. Okay, well, yeah, I was gonna ask a little bit about your background first before diving into the social work and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
so yeah, so like, could you tell me a little bit about how you grew up? I guess what um, type of environment. Where did you grow up? Were you always in Canada?
Yeah, so I started off in I was born in Canada, raised in Canada. However, my mom's from Caracas, Venezuela,
Okay,
and my dad's from here in Canada. But my grandparents come from on one side Morocco, on the other side Poland. So kind of like a wide array. And on top of that, I was sort of raised in a typical like suburban home, like just outside of Toronto. Kind of smaller house, but definitely enough for me and my two brothers and my dad and mom to roam around in.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a good time. It was a good time.
Yeah. So and now you're in college.
Yeah, so I'm at Ryerson University down in the downtown core.
Yeah, pursuing social work, right?
Hmm.
Yes. Um, yeah. So I that covers a little bit of your background. How would your best friend describe you?
My best friend. I like to think I have a few best friends. I like to think I'm kind of a social guy. But yeah, that being said, it probably see me as uh, it's evident by I guess the program I'm in. I like to think of myself, and I think my best friend would too. Think of me as a caring person. I always like going the extra mile for people, helping other people out. If I see someone in trouble, I can help them out. If there's For the first years of my program, I was providing my lecture notes and the notes I took in class, as well as school reviews to students for free, just on our social groups. So I really just like helping out wherever I can, whether that be in a field of interest for me, like performing with people that are trying to get their feet wet in music, or whether that be, just helping out with chores at home, the really basic, sort of frontline nice stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm
Mhm.
wondering whether I should be. So, do you have any heroes?
Heroes. I have one or two heroes. I guess a hero in my immediate family would be my probably my dad, because when I was 5, my parents got divorced, and so oddly enough, most of the time you sort of end up with your mom, and that's sort of assumed. So when I tell people that I grew up with a single dad, like 3 boys and a single dad, people sort of are a bit confused because they're like, "Well, where's your mom?" And so growing up with him and seeing how he struggled a bit to raise us, and not only that, but when I got diagnosed with cancer, he was he stayed. I was in the hospital, a lot, and he would every time I would stay overnight, other than one night, and out of the whole 7 months that I was doing chemo, he stayed over with me, made sure I was good, asked me if I was okay, bought Timbits for the nurses, like really nice stuff. And he's always been really supportive. So he's definitely one of my heroes.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's impressive.
Mhm.
I guess so. I've been asking a bunch of questions, but you have a bunch to share upon your all your hobbies and your experiences. So I mean, I can ask a bunch more, but I would love to just hear about. I guess start with school. Social work.
Cool.
Yeah. What brought you to social work?
Well, it's a bit unconventional because a lot of people they go into social work and they say, "Oh, I have a passion for dealing with people with mental health issues," or "I have a passion for helping immigrants sort of settle in Canada." And there are always these like sort of specific pockets of interest that a lot of people with me. I had no idea what I wanted to do for university.
Right.
Fresh out of high school, like, how am I supposed to know what to do with my life? And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I had no
No,
idea, right? Hey, go on, go ahead.
no, that's like how are people actually expected to know what to do with their lives?
I don't
Like,
know.
I don't know. I got lucky where I was like, okay, psychology. I was doing it for a year, and then they said, "What are you going to do for grad school?" And I thought that was ridiculous that I had to keep doing, schooling without having real hands-on experience on things. I just
Yeah,
couldn't take it, so I went to business.
it's quite the switch, huh?
Yeah, it was quite the switch, but I used a little bit of psychology in it. But the point was, like, I got lucky where I was like, okay, I figured this out. I honed in. But in
Yeah,
college, all of my friends were like, yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do with my life. It's a
yeah,
life.
yeah.
How would I know?
Just get thrown in kind of and feed them to the wolves, right? But yeah. So for me, it was more of almost on a whim. So my brother is in child and youth care, so it's kind of like social work, but for people 25 and under. And so he said, "Hey, like, you'd probably be good in social work." I said, "I probably would." And so I applied. It turned out afterwards that it was a hard program to get into, but I sort of just like snuck in there, and I started practicing social work. And then it wasn't until later on, I'm in third year now, but it wasn't until maybe the end of first year that I really saw why I was there. And you say I have like lots of stuff to talk about. It's all those things that I talk about that
Sure.
sort of inform how I practice and have sort of led me to practicing social work.
That's it. Well, could you elaborate on that? Like all the things
Sure.
you talk about. Which things?
Well, for example, in social work, I sort of want to incorporate art, and I think music, for example, can be really therapeutic. Having my own experience being in music and seeing therapeutic abilities, or um, there are other things that can sort of apply to social work, like I think an example. So, being a survivor of cancer, a lot people have those diagnoses, or everyone's sort of been touched by cancer in some sort of way, whether it be a distant relative that you hear about or news story about someone who passed away recently from stage 4 cancer. So, I think having that lived experience can really bring me valuable knowledge to bring to people that I start working with in the field.
That's awesome. No, that's important. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess that you can connect with them easier.
Hmm.
Wow.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you got into the field. Were you doing an internship? Was that an internship that you got into, or?
I only started placement or like internship this year in third year. Before that, I had no sort of co-op in my high school.
Okay.
Um, I just sort of got, like I said, on a whim, like just got sort of thrown in there.
Yeah. I mean, like what you said, you started practicing. Like you started actually getting into things. Like I said, my trouble with psychology was I wasn't thrown into things, but you were actually in the action, right?
Yeah, I mean, like my program is a lot based on theory though, so it's a bit harder to get like right in on the action. Other than my lived experience, of course, as being that was sort of on the other side of things. So like I had a social worker when I was in the hospital,
Okay.
but and perhaps maybe that also informed why I decided to go into social work. But my practice only started coming up like recently.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess let's move on at least for now to another one of your hobbies.
sure.
Which one? Music?
I can talk about music forever, so I'll
Yeah.
try and dumb it down a bit. um, yeah, with music, I started taking guitar lessons when I was 8, and after 3 months, I decided that I did not want to do guitar lessons, and so I quit. And yeah, so I guess that goes to show that even after that failure, I can sort of be successful because when I turned 13, my brother said, "Hey, I'm in a punk band and we need a bassist." And I
Oh,
said, "Okay." I'm like, "Where do I come in that, right? I
right.
don't play any instruments." And then my brother said, "Well, I can teach you bass guitar because he's been playing guitar for a few years." He decided to stick with the lessons, and so he taught me bass guitar, and I sort of joined the band a few weeks later. And then after that, I picked up drums. All these things I sort of wanted to learn from having been in a band. And now I've been everywhere along music, from playing background music at corporate events for lawyers to
Really.
playing progressive metal at a show where no one shows up. So I've totally been like all across the spectrum of
Yeah.
everywhere from one person showing up to listen to our music to 1,500 people showing up.
And you. Oh wow. So
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
that's impressive. And I presume that I mean, you probably loved doing it anyways when it was nobody showing up
yeah.
because
I did.
music. I mean, yeah, did you enjoy the music that you were playing originally? Because you were just forced into a band. You don't know if this band, I don't know, you might not like punk.
It's true. I mean, right off the bat, it was sort of like my brother would listen to Nickelback, and I'd be like, "Well, that's kind of heavy for me, right?" And then I get thrown into this punk band. I'm like, "Okay, let's see what I can do." And so, of course, at the beginning, like I was sort of crappy at it, and it took a bit of honing into the skill and practicing a lot to get into it, right? Because you can't just know bass after a week.
You were thrown into a band. You're not, that doesn't work. That just doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, so those shows were more like 10, 15 people, and like one guy who showed up because he heard music from the street and thought he paid $5 to come hang out.
Really?
And so I've really moved. I really think I progressed from those types of shows to shows where even if 20 people show up, I'm really like passionate about the music, so it's still equally as therapeutic for me, like I discussed before.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to, I had something in mind of something I did with no one watching. Oh, it was actually streaming. I was live streaming. And I was
Yeah.
like, you're not doing it for the viewers. You're doing it for yourself because that's the only way the viewers are going to enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get 1,500 people at that, at that point, but yeah. And so it's interesting that you were able to pick it up, and so now you're able to pick it up, and now you're able to play drums as well,
hmm
and so you've actually progressed within that. I mean, do you play any other instruments there, or is it?
I mean, my family's very musical, so I've dabbled in a few. Like for high school, I was playing the baritone saxophone, which is like the tenor saxophone but lower. Or for my dad's been playing piano for 45 years, so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll learn a song or two. Other than that, sort of drums is my main one, and bass is my secondary. But yeah, I just like contact random people. I'm like, hey, want to jam? And they're like, yeah, and then we just jam.
I still think that's incredibly lucky for you that you got a second chance at this. I mean, I never, if I got an opportunity to be in a band when I was, what was 13, I
Yeah,
would have gone
13.
nuts. I would have gone nuts. Instead, I was band photographer, and I still was happy. You know,
That's good.
that's
That's
awesome.
good.
That's really awesome. Yeah. So you guys are playing, and you guys are playing like 1,500 people now.
Well, it's give and take, right? Because I'm playing it with I have one or two main bands, but I'm playing with a few projects. So, there's this singer named Tally Kushner
Okay.
who performed at like a sort of like a festival, and there was like professional sound and mixing, and so because I know her and she's a good friend of mine, we decided that it would be really cool if we formed a band to help support her, because going up and singing and piano can be very beautiful, but because it was an outdoor venue, we thought maybe add a bit of rocky edge to it, or maybe even a bit of like groovy R&B. And so we rehearsed, I think, maybe for a week, and then we got on stage, and we're thinking like a few hundred people, but 1,500 people showed up.
That's
So
crazy.
that was amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's here and there. Like sometimes 1,500, sometimes 20. And I'm okay with either.
Right. Right. Oh man. I mean, I don't know if you've ever. There's a lot in the early days of the Beatles when
Mhm.
when people weren't such huge fans of their music. But they still played, they still practiced, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you've got to link me to your stuff at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, definitely.
Yeah, so I guess so that's music for you.
hmm
What are your other hobbies?
Yeah, I write poetry. I have upwards of 50 poems, just recorded. That's sort of been transferred through my family. Like my grandfather wrote poetry, my dad writes poetry, my brother writes poetry, but I'm sort of the first one in the family to perform it and want to get on stage and sort of slam it, if you know what slam poetry is.
Right. Well, I don't know. I've only heard about it. I've
Mhm.
seen it mocked everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
oh, I guess explain it a bit better than I could.
Well, you have the 22 Jump Street type of slam poetry where they're like making fun of it and they're like people, places, and they're all like passionate about random words. Slam poetry is like it's you go up on stage and talk like you say your poem, but there's a performing component to it. So if the poem's sad at a moment, I'm sad on stage. If the poem's happy and like butterflies and unicorns, then I'm like sort of like smiling and happy about it. So there's like almost like acting, but emoting what you feel and what's on paper live instead of just reading it and letting the audience decide how you feel.
That's awesome. I mean, do you have any of them memorized?
Memorize? No, I mean I'm only learning how to slam. I could read one off and you can tell me how I do if
No,
you want.
I mean honestly, I'd love to, I don't know. It's all about seeing you as organic as possible. So I mean, I'd love to actually see it if you want.
Can we do that now? Is that good?
Yeah, dude, go for it. In the meantime,
Okay.
I'll look for. Oh, do you already have it?
Yeah, man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Uh, like I said, I'm not sure if I said it yet, but I'm performing tonight for the second time on stage ever
Great.
at my school.
Oh, it's
So I'm
only
really
your
nervous.
second time.
Huh?
It's only your
Huh?
second time.
Yeah, it's only my second time. I mean, I've been writing for 4 years, but I've always been like really shy and not wanting to perform it. But I'm really pushing myself this time, so that's why I'm going to do it on air right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once again, kudos. I'm shy in
Thank
front
you.
of a bunch of people. You go on.
Oh yeah, man. Okay, so I'll give you a brief description. This poem is about a friend of mine who I can't really see anymore, but she was in the hospital with me when I was going through chemo. And so about a week before she passed away, I decided, for some reason, so I just had some sort of intuition, and I decided to contact her after not speaking to her for a while. And she told me that the cancer had returned even after she had been in remission for a while, and that it was popping up everywhere, and that the doctors sort of they tried everything. And so I was inspired to write this poem about her and send it to her. And she actually passed away. I don't know if she ever had the chance to read it or not, but I had sent it to her, and then 2 days later she passed away. So that's my poem. I'm going to read it now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. She's the girl who shines too bright. The doctors call them cancerous tumors, but I prefer to call them sunspots. Now, letting the doctors call the shots, she always makes sure to shoot for the stars. Despite being behind bars, trapped in her envious body, trying to bring her back down, keeping her switching between t-shirts and hospital gowns. We both spent several rounds of getting injected with chemo. In a sense, we lost our innocence, cashing in childhood, letting the lone mature, leaving us alone and mature. People keep calling us patients, missing the double meaning, needing to be told about how some days keep you in bed, and that's okay. What isn't fair, though, is the difference in fare that we've had to pay. Life is a subway with different stops, and the doors got stuck along the way, forcing her train to stay. We had each other to relate until my final round was over. I was given the luxury of stepping out of the ring, and while she continued to figure skate and sing, perform for the NHL, there was something brewing. She was given no sugarcoat to keep her warm. The swarm of thoughts returned, leaving her stomach churned, and left her with a third-degree burn before she could complete her first. Despite all this, she becomes brighter. I don't know from where, but she learned to be a fighter. Even when the workload is no lighter, she lights the world on fire, sparking a flame no one ever had to ignite her. Refusing a lack of cure, she switched doctors midway, hoping to foster positivity, hoping her attitude would contrast lab results. With Carly shooting for the stars never required a catapult. She passed away on the day of my 6-month checkup. She couldn't admit that she had been permanently admitted. Her cancer returned, so she didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, heavy stuff, I know. But
What?
I said
No.
heavy stuff, I know, but
Yeah.
I just ratted it off. That's just how I felt. I wrote that, right away and sent it to her, and I like to think that she had a chance to read it.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. It's once again, it's a lot, and it's hard for me to be like, oh, what is the way to properly respond? It's yeah. I mean that whole situation is something that's hard for me to approach in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's,
for
uh,
sure. I mean,
yeah,
even a lot of people like I know when I was going through it and I was diagnosed, even like walking around the halls, bald, no eyebrows, like even seeing someone in that situation is hard. And so I can imagine like even just seeing someone, I can imagine how hard it must be for other people to sort of interact with you when you're telling them straight out how things are instead of just walking by them in the hallways.
yeah.
So
I mean, oh man, it's uh,
it's heavy. It's heavy.
yeah, it's heavy, and I'm just like, yeah. Well, I mean, would you want to talk about that right now? And we can talk
Sure.
about it. Okay, yeah. I mean, where do we
I mean,
start there?
I wouldn't have read that if I wasn't comfortable. I'm a pretty open book. So
Yeah,
whatever questions you have, man, I'm here to answer them.
that's amazing. I mean, once again, I'm the one who gets uncomfortable. It's just hard to react to it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, wherever feels most comfortable for you to start, wherever it feels most natural for you to start about it. I mean, you seem pretty
Okay.
positive right now. You seem really kind of, I don't know, fully formed about it. I don't know.
I mean, this happened. I wrote this. I've had time to digest this material and time to sort of experience it and go through, the phase where it was like really tough. And now, sort of when I talk about it, I sort of see the purpose in communicating. So instead of saying, this is really hard stuff to deal with, let's, push it to the side for now and not talk about it.
Right.
I think it's very important, as someone who's experienced it and seen people, either go through it or pass away from it, it's very important to tell people how you feel, and it's good for me, and it's good for you, and good for everyone that listens to it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I feel. That's why I'm just like,
Well, I mean, hopefully the poem gave you a bit of insight as to how I feel, so that you know how to interact with that. But it's always a tough conversation to have, for
yeah.
sure.
So yeah, wherever you want to start about it, like, I guess let's dive in.
Okay, do you want me to talk about this poem specifically, or like just the process of writing and stuff like that?
The poem itself, the poem, yeah, a little bit about the poem itself. I do want to hear about your experience also.
Hmm. For sure. So let me just pull the poem back up, and I can sort of look at certain lines and
Yeah, yeah,
like dissect them a bit.
sure.
So one approach I wanted to take with this was, I feel like with cancer diagnoses, you can get either like really awkwardly positive or really awkwardly negative, and you can miss the realism in the diagnosis. And so what I did with this poem is I really want to, talk about the negatives in a way that doesn't seem like it's just like talking about all the shitty stuff that happens in life, but in a way that, like, she was very positive. Other than maybe the last few days before she passed away, like when she was just drained and had no energy and was being operated on, she was like really, really positive about everything. In the same way you said, I sort of talk about it kind of positively. Like she was
Right.
like that 24/7.
Yeah, I think one of the lines was a something of light, a gleam of light.
Yeah, even the first sentence, she's the girl who shines too bright. Like
Right.
for me, I'm like, how can you be so positive? And she's like, just keeps on shining, you know?
Yeah.
Despite being behind bars and switching between hospital gowns and t-shirts, and spending so much time in chemo, and me sort of dissecting like how I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
I still talk about how we had each other to relate to. And so on my last round of chemo was actually my 14th round was actually her first round of chemo. And so I sort of was leaving as she was coming in, and I sort of had the chance to explain the process a bit to her. And, she says, oh, well, if I have mouth sores, which is a side effect of chemo, how do I deal with it? And I could list off like the amount of like things that can numb your mouth or make it more comfortable to eat. But one notable time is on my last night there, I invited her to come and hang out with my friends who had all come to visit. And within 5 minutes, they had all added each other on Facebook. And not only that, but we got guitars around the ward, and we all started jamming on guitar and playing music on my last round and her first.
Oh,
And that's what I mean when I say therapy. Like music can be really helpful, even for extreme situations like that. So that's sort of what this poem is about. How we used each other to comfort each other, and how being beside someone that's going through something similar, even though she unfortunately passed away and I have the privilege of living on, how we sort of used each other to make the process somewhat more bearable wherever we were headed.
and it's interesting because it is, as you said, it is more of a positive kind of outlook on things from the poem.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wow. Still just digesting it.
I know.
Yeah. And once again, man, I still can't get how you're just so, I guess once again, more realistic with yourself about all this, and positive, and keeping an upbeat attitude about everything. It's
Yeah, no, I'm like smiling as you say that.
I know you're smiling as you say some of this stuff. It's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about you and your experience.
Yeah, sure.
In a way that can, I guess, help other people.
Mm-hmm. Or even just having fun.
Yeah. Sorry,
Either way,
I'm still iterating. I'm still working out the kinks.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were you saying?
Oh no. So where should we begin about your experience with cancer and all that?
If we're talking about cancer, I think it's best to start at the beginning and give a very brief timeline,
Sure.
because mine was a bit unconventional. So I was just showering one day, April 2012, and I felt a bump in my head, and I was thinking, okay, like these things, happen. Whatever, it's better to get things checked out. And when I was talking to my family, I guess, was a bit nervous around that, and so they said, like it's a bump, like who cares, right? Like, do you hit your head? I'm like, I don't think so. And they're like, well, we get bruises all the time and we don't know where they come from. Like, it was very casual. Only one or two people in my family actually told me, like, we're trying to encourage me to go to the doctor, like I want to, but it was pretty casual. Until a few months later, when I got when it was the size of an apricot, like it was pretty big.
Oh wow.
And it was on my head too.
Okay.
It was luckily in the soft tissue and not on the bone, like other forms of Ewing sarcoma, which is the name of the cancer. But um, I guess to make a long story a bit shorter, we ended up getting it checked out. They said it was a skin condition. We continued up with follow-ups. Then they told me I was clear except for one test that just needs to come back. So I'm Jewish, so we celebrated my stepsister's bar mitzvah, which is like a coming of age ceremony for women turning 12, men turning 13. So we celebrated that. And a few days later, on my second day of grade 12, instead of going to school, I went down for my doctor's appointment to find out what skin condition I had. Well, they plot twisted it, and when I went in, they said, it's not actually a skin condition, it's cancer. And so, oddly enough, you know, a lot of people are in the movies, other than maybe like 50-50 with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which I love. You know, you see like a lot of people like either like the camera like zones out and they're just like reflecting on their whole life, like the next 20 minutes, or they're like flipping tables and getting really mad. And either is okay. But with me, I sort of felt like this very tough, like beating heart for maybe 5-10 minutes. And then it just went away. And I was like at peace with the whole situation.
Really?
And the same happened with my dad, who was beside me. Like we sort of looked at each other. We're like, okay, well, what comes next? And the doctor's like, you can curse, you can swear, like, you know, like you can punch something. I don't care, whatever. I'm like, why would I do that? They were so confused.
You're so confused. I guess, I don't know. I was gonna say rational, but you know, it's not rational. It's just,
it's a reaction.
Yeah, I guess like, but is that a reaction? Like, you are being you're being technical with everything, and it's
technical. Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my word there. I don't know. It's fantastic. Like you just had one of the hardest like things that anyone could throw at you, and you took it with stride. I mean, come on.
Well, I guess I have to give myself a bit of credit, but also I got to give credit to my support system, because I mean, like even if I, you know, had an urge to like, you know, fall back and sort of retreat into my own, like my friends were raising money for Sick Kids Hospital. My friends were making hats with my initials on them. My friends made a 10-minute video with all people in my grade wishing me well. My family did everything from the night I got diagnosed. We were telling jokes and eating cheesecake in a circle. And my friends actually came over, and some of them were like crying. And I'm just like laughing my ass off, because they're making like the worst morbid jokes and just laughing. Like, I don't even want to get into it on air because I don't want to get my dad in trouble. But we're just making like morbid jokes, and people are like, "How can you, like, how?" And I guess it just comes with how I was raised, you know, and how I take things in.
Yeah, it's incredibly impressive, and wow. And so I guess if you feel like continuing,
yeah, for sure. I mean, the timeline.
Yeah, timeline.
Okay. So yeah, after that, you know, like after that, literally a minute after, you start getting like every 5 minutes, someone else will walk in, whether it be a social worker, a dietitian, a psychologist, the home care planner, so on and so forth. Every 5 minutes, someone new is walking in and saying like, you know, like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm pretty good. I actually threw the social worker for a bit of a loop, because she came in and said, you know, how are you doing now that you're diagnosed with cancer? And she like whispered it. And all I'm thinking in my head is like, I don't want to like, I went out her own way. So I said, oh, I'm pretty good. How are you doing? How's your day? And she didn't know how to answer, because usually she's so used to, you know, people saying like, you know, this sucks, or swearing and stuff. But me, I was like, how are you? She's like, what do you mean, how am I, right? So that was very interesting. But moving on, like it was just a lot of technical stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about technicality. It was a lot of, this is what you need to do. Your schooling, you know, do you want to continue? I said, yeah. So like, how do we get your work to you? Very technical stuff. And over the 7 months, you know, I just took things in stride as they came.
Yeah.
If I had mouse and I couldn't eat, I, you know, spoon tea, mashed potatoes, you know, stuff like that.
I just wanted to note on I just wanted to note on your quirky approach to these things. Like, I feel like I'm the same way. Once when I was in Israel, in school in Israel, and I passed out from, I was walking up the stairs to get water, because I wasn't feeling well, and like the hospital over there gave me some weird drugs because I wasn't feeling well. And
you know which ones, for instance?
What?
Do you know what drugs?
I really don't remember.
Okay.
Like it was something, I don't know, I had like the flu or something. They gave me some weird drugs. I passed out, and I woke up in my roommate's arms. He's like wow, I'm sorry. I'm like, he's an EMT.
Okay.
I just start giggling. I started laughing like, I passed out now, didn't I?
Yeah,
It's like not. I don't know. I feel like I have like a similar approach. I've never had that type of thing
for
laid out
sure.
to me, but I throw doctors for a loop because to me that reaction is just better than any.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
Sometimes there can be humor in fainting.
right. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
thing. When things are going horrible and you're just like humorous about it, it throws people for some weird loops.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. So you were saying that you were eating like spoons of what, applesauce.
Yeah, mashed potatoes. So like for my brother's birthday, this was November, so this is when the chemo started hitting me. I hadn't lost. I shaved my head because it was getting annoying waking up and finding clumps of hair on your bed. But yeah, but
Never had that.
uh,
Yeah, never had that.
yeah, a lot of people haven't. But especially at my age, I guess it's kind of odd to see your friend go through that. But
Yeah.
for my brother's birthday, like I couldn't really eat anything for that good week, other than like soft foods or through a straw. So I was eating like mashed potatoes from spoons and stuff, and I had to find like tips and tricks to navigate that. Like if you have a bad taste in your mouth from chemo, for me, orange flavored things work. So Tic Tacs were really helpful. You have to find like smooth ways to cope with what a lot of people find to be a really hard thing to cope with, and rightfully so. And so I was finding like tips and tricks as I went on, giving advice to people. People give advice to me. I sort of teach doctors, a few things that work for me. They tell me what's worked in the past, so on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, I could go into like every little story. It would be hard. So
Yeah,
I guess I'll just like keep zooming along on a basic timeline.
sure. And like whatever, anything that you think would be fun, I guess, within this, feel free to share.
Oh, okay. I will tell my sperm bank story. Okay.
Okay, sure.
So 16-year-old me, because chemo can make you sterile, and it has for me, you get to go to a sperm bank. And usually, like, you're thinking, like, okay, whatever, you masturbate into a cup, not a huge deal. And 16-year-old me, like, who cares, right?
Right.
I took grade 6 sex ed class, right? So I'm prepared for this. So the thing I wasn't prepared for, two things. One, my dad and my stepmom came with me. Not came with me, but came with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, just clearing up that. I don't want anyone to think.
No. I get it's the weird one. It's definitely
they accompanied me. So they were sitting in the waiting chairs, and I went in. Turns out that at some sperm clinics, they have porn ready for you on an Apple TV and in magazines. So I walk in and I just look around and I'm like so confused. I'm like, I thought I'm just gonna like, think about something and then go for it. But like there were like videos and stuff. And then here's the best part. When I walked out, my dad looks at me and says, "That was quick." And I'm like, what that? How do I even answer that?
Yeah. No,
That was a
really.
weird experience. Oh my god. I hope my dad actually wrote a book about this whole experience that I have, and I read it twice, but I think he put that in the book.
A whole
So
book.
yeah, he wrote a 200-page book based on it follows a timeline based on the emails he sent out to our family to keep them updated.
Sure.
And yeah, so he wrote that book. So I think that's actually in the book, which is kind of funny.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know. The book thing is kind of cool too. Yeah, I mean, would you like to share any other stories about it, or just wherever you prefer, that or the timeline?
Sure.
I'm enjoying this. Is fantastic.
Okay, good. I'll share a few more stories because the timeline, like I'll sort of sneak the timeline in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, first of all, I got a really good response from Reddit, actually. I was on Reddit and I decided to post a picture of me with a huge teddy bear that said halfway done chemo, like, making it there. And it actually made the front page of Reddit, which is really cool. And to add on to that, I actually went to 2 proms. I'm a lucky guy. But I went to
I haven't been to any.
Huh?
I haven't been to any.
Oh, no?
Nah, Jewish schools, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I went to private Jewish schools, but they were more like, I guess, open. So like guys and girls were, hanging out with each other.
Yeah, my just open one. So I was like,
fair
come
enough.
on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, especially as a teenager, you're like, where are the girls at? Or, where are the guys at maybe, or whatever. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just wanted to be prom king. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Let him have it. Let him have it.
Let them have it.
Yeah, so you didn't even have like proms for like guys and
Yeah,
proms for girls?
yeah. No problems. I mean, religious Jewish school is, it's not gonna allow you to have any of that. I think at one point people were like conspiring to, rent out a place and make it, but teenagers, they're not gonna make it happen.
No, no.
Yep. Uh, yeah.
So yes, I'll give you another story because I have an abundance of them. So I'm just trying to pick and choose which ones I'm gonna say on air.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Only what you're comfortable with, man.
oh, I'll say anything. It's just there's so many that are like covering my head. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go into I'm
I,
gonna go into my wish trip if that's okay.
sure. Oh, you got a wish trip.
Yeah. So my dad was actually a bit thrown off by this too. Because he thought wish trips were people that were terminal, right? People that are going to die soon.
That's what.
Um, yeah, and I think it's a bit of a misconception um, because anyone that's diagnosed with cancer under the age 18 or under gets a wish.
Okay.
And so with that wish, at first my dad was very um, hesitant about doing this because he associates it with terminal illness and he
Right.
thinks they're doing me a favor and he doesn't want me to be the kid that's pitied, right?
Yeah.
So we ended up going for it once they sort of explained it and calmed me down about the whole process, and we ended up in Hawaii. And it gets kind of funny because it was me, my dad, my mom, my stepdad, my stepmom,
Oh wow.
two of my four step siblings, my older brother, and my little brother.
That's what you
And
wish
we,
for. You're
and we that was my wish, and we coexisted somehow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have wished for extended family to be, in one place at once.
Yeah, for sure, and especially like with people that are divorced, there's like not stigma, but
Right.
uh, there's the idea that they can't get along.
Right.
So my dad and my mom are pretty cool. Like at first, it's a bit more tension because it's starting out, but they became comfortable with each other over time, especially when your kid's diagnosed with cancer and he says, "Hey, I want both of you in the same room." You're not going to be like, "Well, I
Yeah.
guess I had the upper hand there, right?"
Yeah.
So yeah, we went on the wish trip. I went ziplining. I went to the top of an inactive volcano. I went surfing. I knocked my stepsister off a surfboard. We
Wow.
went out for drinks. It was really fun. And
That's
so
yeah.
yeah, I guess that's sort of a fun story in of itself. There's no specific story that stands out.
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
No, I'm learning a bunch here. I do want to ask. I mean, I don't know if this is a horrible question, but
Ask, man.
no, because every time I see a Make a Wish, it's like to meet someone who's like really cool or like is really popular, and you chose something different from that. So I just wanted to see what the process was there. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I would wish to meet someone cool for my Make a Wish. I guess that's when it comes to realism of it. You probably just want to have a good time. You really want to have something I don't know. What do you think?
I think obviously it's up to the person because it's their wish. But that being said, I think there's value in taking time to bond with your family, especially in I don't want to say formal context, but sort of designating that time for your family.
Right.
Because a lot of time we get caught up in work and school, in things that matter a lot, but in things that are, sort of daily routine. And so when given the chance, I mean, I love metal music. I'm wearing I'm wearing an Architect shirt. If you know the metal band Architects, I don't know if you
I guess I
do.
have to check them out.
If you like metalcore and screamo and heavy metal, then yeah. If not, you may be scared by them, but I love them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I could have played drums with them, right? Because I know some of their songs on drums. I could have
Right.
gone to WrestleMania. I could have. There are many things I could have done, but I don't know. I at the time I just saw innate value in having my family come together, especially after I was done treatment, because this was done 6 months after I was sort of like feeling better. I'm like, where's the world at? Let me add it, and I thought Hawaii would be a great way of expressing that.
Wow. I mean, that's still, once again, like, that is. I know it's something that you did for yourself, but it's still, you probably helped a lot of people with that, like with your family.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
no, that's awesome. Um, yeah, I guess proceed and continue with either something more on that or another story.
I'll do one more story, and then we can move on to like something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm fine talking about cancer and all that. Like, it's one of my elements. But like, I think I'm pretty interesting. So I'm finding like a few more things to talk about for sure.
No, I would love to. I would love to. More to you. Let's do it.
Great. Game time. Um, hmm. Okay. So in my first round, I was sort of like wondering how the process goes and just exploring around, just getting used to the whole climate of being in the hospital.
Sure.
And so what ended up happening is I found out about all the procedures and technical stuff, but I also found out about different initiatives that they take at the hospital to make people feel comfortable, to feel at home. And a lot of them are younger. Like I was one of the older people to take kids because the cutoff is 18 and I was 16 to 17. And so what I learned quickly is that you should take advantage, if you're feeling up to it, to the opportunities that are offered. So one opportunity of such was that there were Olympic athletes that decided to come to sick kids to support sick children or children dealing with difficult illnesses. And so I met, I'm not sure if you know any of them, but there was a Jewish girl named Rose, who was performing gymnastics and won a gold medal. I forget what her last name was, or a guy named Simon, like they're Simon Woodman, I think, who won bronze in rowing. Like a few like notable Olympians. So I got to meet them. People started popping out of the woodwork. Like my friend from grade 5, her dad happened to work at Sick Kids, and he heard about me over Facebook, so he popped in. Like all these, not only resources, but all these things that you don't really think about on a daily basis, just sort of, or people you don't think about on a daily basis, just sort of pop up in your life. And so I was able to meet a lot of cool people, whether it be volunteers or I'm not sure how famous people I met were, because but they were Olympians and stuff like that. So I got to meet a lot of cool people, and although I don't have specific stories about people I've met,
Sure.
I definitely thought it was worth bringing up because it's an awesome experience to make use of, especially when you're sick.
No, that's that's great. If you want to move on to something else, we can move on to either something that you have in mind, or I've got other questions.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Okay. So have you, it's a question I asked before to the other guy I interviewed, and have you met anyone famous? What story stands out there? You mentioned over here you met some Olympians, but I figure you probably have met other people famous in your life, and one of those stories comes to mind, and that's a different topic. So,
well, some famous people I've met and some famous people I've had a chance to interact with in some way. So I'll clarify that. Famous person I met, maybe they're famous to me. Not necessarily
that's
famous.
fine. It's what's important to you.
Yeah. So I met. There's this progressive art rock band from Boston, and I met some of the artists there. There's a local Toronto band named I'm Committing a Sin, who I happen to.
What was the first band?
Oh, they're called Bent Knee. Really weird name.
That's cool. That's cool though.
Yeah, they're like really cool band out of Boston. They probably love that I'm giving them a shout out. I actually have a drum cover of them up on YouTube, but
yeah, I love prog rock, so I have to yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Is there any way I can type all these things on the sidebar?
You should be able to. Yeah, send a message. Yeah, just write it in the send a message thing.
Send a message. Where is that, if I can ask?
Oh, or you could just yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and if there's any story that comes to mind with meeting any of these people, like
yeah, for sure. One cool story would be when I'm actually about to sneeze.
That's cool.
Oh wait, no, I'm good for now. Okay. Okay. So yeah, one story that's pretty cool is there's this drummer I really look up to named Luke Holland, and I was actually in a hospital, but they came to town, and so what happened was one of my friends named Aaron Greenfield actually talked to him after the show and filmed him saying, "Hey Michael, like hope you get better. I know you're kicking ass like doing treatment. I want to say that like you're awesome, and that was really awesome for me to experience. Um, it was
That's
real, yeah. I mean, all these people I sort of look up to, just sort of popping up and support me. Um, I mean,
yeah.
my dad's kind of a local hero, so he's kind of famous. He's
Oh
like
yeah.
well known around Toronto. Yeah, he was a substitute teacher. He's working in a life coaching company now. So
Wow.
I've met him.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
Yeah, I've
awesome.
met.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd say I haven't met many famous people. Maybe because I opted to go to Hawaii and not meet anyone specifically famous. But I have like the small moments of people that are like famous to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm from LA, so like to me, this is
Hmm.
like, oh, famous people, and we don't meet them that often, but it's enough that I have stories. Bumping into going to Coffee Bean and seeing Zach Braff disheveled.
Nice.
Yeah, like park next to the Porsche. It's Zach Braff.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've met. Let's see. Um, I'm just spacing here. Um, John Hodgman at a mountain.
Oh,
I'm
is he
sorry.
John Hodgman, a comedian, actor?
Yeah, he's a comedian. He has a podcast right now. I think he's the guy who's doing the Minecraft game. Like I think he's the voice of the Minecraft game, and I
Oh, cool.
Daily Show at some point. Yeah, he was just enjoying the same concert at this small like room sized concert. That
Hmm.
you know, like the guy had just a guitar. It's the Mountain Goats, and
Okay.
came played for. We sat on the floor, and it was just a small room. And John Hodgman is just like sitting there right next to us, and he was just delightful. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, and there are more, but I'll move on to another question. Do you have a favorite quote?
Favorite quote. I mean, is it okay if I use a quote that I've sort of put in a poem? Is that okay, or should I like reference?
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about once again, it's about your personality. So all of that is totally fine.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to start off with a quote that two quotes that I really like that are
Sure.
not mine at all. One quote I really like is "We are the world experiencing itself," because it sort of highlights how interactive we can be with the world around us. And like I said, with the busy schedules, taking that time to pause can be hard. So I think even just looking around for a sec, whether it be listening to music while going on a nature walk, or practicing some self-care, like caring for yourself in some way and taking a break. I think there are many ways we as the world can experience ourselves.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean, I every time I do that, I try to do more meditation. Every time I do that, I end up seeing how everything is just so insane and crazy. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
just take a step back and realize what the world is experiencing. And I'm just like, oh man, the world so much. I don't know. That's just me. Um,
No, for sure.
I should have asked you beforehand. I mean, if you have any advice for anyone out there that you'd like to share, I think that's one thing I want to ask people to think of before. And do you have any advice? Like just general advice, I guess.
General
And
advice or like relate to my experiences,
relate
or I
to your
guess tied in.
relate to your experiences. This is an open-ended question.
Cool. Like I said, one important point is to take pause and sort of look around and experience things around you, because a lot of things, everything is going to be unique. Everything you do can be unique. Um, Maybe your job seems very routine, but I think finding at least one thing to do during the day that either makes you happy, not necessarily for the sake of productivity, but that makes you happy, or that gives you a chance to take a breather, is really important for people. And I think a lot of people miss that because they want to get the next assignment done. They want to be on top of the game. But I believe that successful people take that pause for themselves, because it helps people not only engage with themselves, but learn about themselves too. Taking a break can be a really informative process. And on top of that, when life hits you hard, find ways to fight back that aren't necessarily aggressive. So what I mean by that is, you know, reacting to cancer in an angry way is okay,
Yeah.
but I don't think that can be your mentality, especially if you're going through a long bout of chemo. I don't think it's healthy. I mean, having cancer isn't healthy, but I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy to hold on to hatred or grief for so long that it debilitates you even further than the physical illness you're experiencing. So, for people out there that are struggling with either physical or mental health issues, just finding that way to let go of any internal hatred that you have built up. And I think if you do that, it'll be much easier to, make that time for yourself to take a walk and not be so tense and worrisome.
Yeah. Wow. Once again, it just reinforces it reinforces everything that you've said so far. So it's interesting to see that things are just consistent within all that.
Yeah.
What motivates you every day? These are more of the, yeah,
Yeah. The cool questions, the ones you have over a drink, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What motivates me? Oh, a lot of things. It also depends on like in what aspect of my life. Like if it's something as mundane as doing work, I motivate myself by setting a timer and plugging in music and getting that done right off the bat. I want to be able to hand in all my assignments weeks early. If it's about motivating me to stay proactive and productive in life, it's more about having those support systems in place so that if I feel overwhelmed, I have someone to talk to. If it's motivating me to get on stage and perform poetry in an hour and 10 minutes,
Yeah, seriously.
oddly enough, it's my anxiety and my nerves that motivate me.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
it's situational. But yeah, what about you?
Oh, what motivates me every day?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, just once again, living in a crazy world where time is fleeting, like, and I don't know if I don't make it, who will? You know,
yeah,
no one's gonna push me to do anything but myself. So
for sure.
I guess that's what motivates me. And yeah, I guess I was gonna say some of my heroes, but like looking at
Mhm.
people who accomplish a lot, and who push boundaries, like that also really motivates me. Um, if that makes sense. Um,
That's
yeah.
for sure.
Um, what is your biggest struggle right now?
Biggest struggle. Um, I'm gonna be a bit. I'm gonna scrape the shallow end of that and
Sure, sure.
say my biggest struggle right now is getting up on stage in an hour and 10 minutes once again.
Yeah,
Just because like I have so much nervousness around performing, and not music, just poetry. Because music, I've had 7 years to practice that and hone in on that and feel welcome on stage. But with poetry, it's more nerve wracking because I think I write poetry well, but I think my performance aspect of it, watching my friends who go on stage and they're like they can make themselves a wreck on stage. They can whimper on command. Like they're very good at the performance aspect. And because I look up to that so much, I really want to challenge myself. But
yeah.
within challenging myself, I'm getting outside of my comfort zone. So I think that's relatable on a large scale. Like whenever I think my biggest challenge is pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. And so I sort of take baby steps each day to accomplish that when possible.
That's awesome. And we're winding down a bit here, but I'm just enjoying this conversation so much that I'm trying to milk it for everything it's got.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah, so I'm just looking down the list. I mean, do you have anything specific that you'd want to note on? I want to find something that's awesome here. Um, yeah, I guess just rapid fire questions. So like, you mentioned you're all about music. So like, what's your favorite music? What? Yeah, these would be like rapid fire.
Sure. My favorite bands range from style to style, but that being said,
Sure.
um, like I mentioned on the side, Ben Nee, I Am Committing a Sin, um, Architects, Marrow. I'm trying to name local artists,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Empty Self. Those are all like awesome artists. Monkeyer. They all sort of range from hip hop, jazz, fusion to what people call screamo or metalcore. So those are sort of some artists that influence me.
Yeah. And you can see that the sun started. I had natural light coming in, and now, um, yeah. Do you have any TV or movies that you're into right now, or
Yeah, and I'll write them down as I go. But Veep, Parks and Recreation. I'm gonna start getting into Master of None because I've heard only great things about that. Community,
oh,
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Veep.
best.
The list goes on, man.
Yeah. What do you do when you're bored?
When I'm bored, it depends. A lot of time I sort of go into my hobbies like music. I write poetry. Hang out with my family. Anything from Mario Party to I don't know. Like coming up in a few weeks, I'm going to be having like a game called Truth or Drink. Have you heard of that game?
No. What is it?
So, so there's actually a YouTube series that does it, but
Okay.
someone can ask you a kind of invasive question, and you can either answer that question or you can take a shot of whatever.
Okay.
You can probably
That's
get drunk fast on that. It's dangerous, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, also Mario knows how to party. Um,
Mario knows how to party.
oh, I meant with the Mario Party stuff, but my mind is going
Oh,
back and forth.
oh
Uh,
yeah, Mario Party. Yeah, that's a good drinking game too. Is Mario Kart? Like
oh
you
yeah,
can only
yeah,
drink. Yeah,
five.
you know that one. You
Yeah,
know that
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I've played that one before.
Did you
Um,
win?
no, actually,
Man,
I know. I
so
also like Mario Kart.
mm, mm.
Um, uh, let's see here. Is there a fad that you hate,
That I hate.
or is there a fad that you wish came back?
Oh, which came back. Can they be the same?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm gonna name a fad that I hate, but like oddly enough, I think if it came back, it would be hilarious.
Sure.
They used to have high heels that had goldfish in them with water.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
hilarious, but like kind of cruel and unusual for the fish that has to like put
They
up with
must
that.
die so
They hate
fast.
that. I mean, they have a short memory span, so maybe they don't remember, but it's still not right.
Yeah, I mean, like even Dory would be tweaking out.
Yeah, for sure. You may forget it, but you remember the feelings you felt around that. So feel bad
Yeah.
for those fishies.
Um, let's see. I'm just going down the list here. If you met yourself as a kid, well, however many years younger, what would you say?
I said chill out because even I still struggle with chilling out. But I think the more times someone, especially someone that is you but older, you may not take it as like, oh, that person just like wants me to calm down. You may take it more genuinely, especially if you believe that they're you from the future. So I think saying something like chill out or don't let life pass you by, those types of things, the cheesy stuff.
That's chill, and we're winding down here. So,
Okay.
if there's anything you want to like talk about a little bit, or just anything you want to shout out, feel free because we're gonna close things up soon.
Sure. I'm just gonna sort of rapid fire some of my some like shameless plugs about
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
things that people can
yeah. Shame,
get. Um,
no shame,
so
no shame,
no shame at all.
no
So
shame.
first of all, I'm gonna post on the side a link to where you can purchase my dad's ebook that he wrote about me. This one's a Kobo one, but that being said, just search up the title on Google and you'll find it on Amazon.
I'm gonna put this
Um,
on the YouTube video. So this is right now. This will give me a video I'm gonna put up on YouTube. So everything I'll be able to plug below the YouTube video in the description.
oh, great. So let
Yep.
me then let me then get the find the Amazon one, or I can get that to you later, and you can put that down in the description.
Yeah, whenever.
Um, so yeah, so that's my dad's book. It's called "My Story of Parents' Journey Through His Child's Cancer." Fun fact for the viewers: my dad took the picture on the front cover without me knowing, so I look kind of miserable. But I was actually just really tired, so don't assume anything about that.
I'm so looking forward to seeing this cover.
Yeah, it's a great one. My doctor actually has that picture hung up in her office because she thinks it's funny too. Um, what else? I'm head of the Social Work Students Union, so if you're in Toronto at Ryerson, draw me a line. Maybe we can have you speak if your life's kind of interesting. And that goes for you too if you're ever in Toronto, man.
Yeah.
Feel free to message me on Facebook, Michael Friedman. Like, if you have any questions about my journey, like, or even on Reddit, my username is reddit.com/u/utopian. So if you ever feel like you want to talk about anything, whether that be related to mental and physical health, my cancer journey, why I say Jersey, I think I'm in New Jersey right now. My cancer journey, music, poetry, anything that, even just a casual conversation, I'm totally down for that. You tell me what I do to pass time when I'm bored. One of the things I do is talk to random people.
Yeah.
So just anything like that, draw me a line and I'll be glad to hang out.
Awesome. And anything else you want to plug, or is that it?
Wish me luck on my poetry slam and wish me
Yeah.
luck on my gig tonight. Oh, my bands. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm poking at all these bands and everything. So I'm gonna be able to put them in the description anyways. But I'm just once again, I'm just milking this because I'm enjoying it so much. I shouldn't make these interviews so long, but I just enjoy them. So
Oh, it's okay, man. I'm having a lot of fun talking to you for sure. It's very fun.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, you should mention them by name because you'll just give me a list of everything later. I'll put in the description.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just put in a name. Three Chief Tribe, Tally Kush, um, Forest, but instead of an O, there's an X. So FXRRVST, weird spelling.
Okay.
Um, oh, so many projects I'm a part of, but like lots of bands like that, and I can tell you of other ones after.
Sure.
And there's some local poets in Toronto: Tui Gray, Cassandra Myers, Lonja Jury, Patrick DeBellin, Josh Scribe. You know, just
It's
even if you're in
yeah,
local communities, because those are the things that are going to build up and be famous. And if you get back on that early, you can support their art.
that's awesome. And is there anything you want to touch on? And I know we're running over, but I mean, I just want to make sure that you give them their piece there because if they're just in a line, then they don't have as much
Okay, sure.
to them.
So Three Chief Tribe is a band that I'm a drummer in. My brother's in the band too, as a guitarist. And we have a guy named Ben Shema and Eric Mendel, and they're the singer, guitarist, and bassist, singer/guitarist and bassist.
Sure.
And we sort of play shows around Toronto whenever we can. And Tally Kush is an independent artist, but once in a while, my friend Evan Laus and I will sort of back her up, and that's where the 1,500 person show came in.
Right, the piano and everything.
So she actually got remixed by an artist named Hippie Sabotage, who I don't know if you know. Do you know the popular remix of Habits by Tovlo?
I mean, I'm not sure. The only Habits I know is not the original pop song Habits, but the one that's remixed by Postmodern Jukebox.
Oh, okay. So another artist remixed him, but they're the same artist that remixed my friend Tally, and she actually has 1.5 million views on SoundCloud right now.
Wow.
For that video. Yeah, so she's getting kind of popular. And then in terms of the artists that I mentioned, like the poets, Cassandra Myers is the person that I went to my first poetry slam with, and we sort of encouraged her to open mic and get out there, get her voice out there. But she's actually now for the second year in a row, the head of the Toronto Youth Slam team. And so she goes around, she does some workshops, she slams with the Ragdoll Collective, which is her, Tui Gray, and Lonzo Jury. And they go and they perform at different venues. We actually had them here at Ryerson, along with a ton of comedians. We had a comedian poetry showcase hosted by the Social Work Students Union. So there was a lot of crying of laughter and crying of crying, which is kind of fun. And then, Patrick DeBellin, Scribe, and Patrick Walters are called the Uncharted, and they sort of also do workshops. They performed at Nathan Phillips Square, which is kind of like our very, very low-key Times Square, I guess. So that was kind of notable and really cool. And they also came to that event that I helped run. So that was all fun. And just the more I can support local artists and the more I can sort of support myself as a local artist, the more we'll be able to flourish.
Man, it's freaking altruistic, man. It's awesome.
Gotta try and do my part, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I want to be courteous of your time, and I know I've already run over by a couple minutes. So I just want to say thank you. Any parting words?
Stay safe, do drugs if you want, but make sure that they're safe.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Michael.
Great. I will send you all the links for all that stuff. And put it in the bottom and then we'll get some people to support this.
Absolutely. I need to have a sign off line and whatever. I'll think of one.
Thanks for supporting me and allowing me to come on and talk, because there's a lot of stuff I love talking about, and having this platform is amazing. So I really appreciate you finding me.
No, you kidding me? You're doing me the favor. So I appreciate you actually. It's your time. Like I asked for it. Like thank you. I'll sign off here.